Hello there everyone, I'm Crazy Caleb, and today we are taking a look at neutrinos. Just to make sure I'm recording. Yes, I am. Good. So what we need to do is essentially calculate these three sets of neutrinos that are going from the sun to this planet up here. So before we actually do that, let's grab our planet and let's see what its distance from the sun is. So good old Uranus has a distance of 19,201. So now what we're going to do is we need to find the flavors of each neutrinos after they solve. But first, before we do any of that, we need to calculate the travel time for each neutrino. So what we're going to take a look here is we're essentially going to perform the following steps for each neutrino, and each neutrino alone. Firstly, we must determine the momentum. So we're going to use this little chart, and we're going to combine each of the values together for each neutrino. In this case, ABC. This is not multiplication. This is combining each digit together. Let's start off with that. So the alpha value for the first one is going to be the number of battery holders. In this case, that's a 1. The Bravo value for the first one is going to be the number of ports, modulo 10. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the C value is just going to be equal to the position of the button from left to right. So in this case, we're looking at our first button. It's going to be a 1. Next up, the number of port plates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, okay. The number of batteries for our Bravo value is going to be a 1. And next up, C is just a 2, because it's the second position. And for our final position, our A value is the number of unlit indicators, in this case 1. Our B value is the number of lit indicators, 0 in this case. And we're looking at the third position, so our last digit is a 3. Now before we even go on, we need to apply for each neutrino a global modulo if it's over this specific value. Let's take a look. 151 is less than 301, so we're good. 512 is, however, not less than 302, so we're going to essentially take 512 modulo 302. 512 minus 302 will take the remainder from this, giving us a 210 instead. And 103 is less than 333, so we're good. So down here, values A, B, and C should be concatenated together like so. And then we apply the global modulo, which we just did, to this three-digit number. So now what we're going to do is follow this formula here. We've already done our ABCs being concatenated together. We've already applied our global modulo. Now we're going to divide each value by 1,000. In this case, we're essentially just going to put a decimal point in front of each. Or for those of you who do feel they need to do a calculator, I'll show you one. Divide this by 1,000. 0.21. Cool. I can actually get rid of that 0, so that's perfect. And now, what we're going to do is we've done all of these right here. We're going to subtract the values we got from 1.2. So in this case, 1.2 minus 0.151. And in this case, that gives us a 1.049. Sorry, my chair's a little creaky. Next up, we have a 1.2 minus 0.21. It's going to give us a 0.99. Ooh, that was close. A 1.2 minus 0.103. It's going to give us a value of 1.097. And that's our momentum for each of the values here. So next up, we're going to calculate the speed of this. And there's a little unicorn here. After applying this, if you get a speed of 1, then you broke physics. Press submit and don't tell anyone, which is basically your unicorn, but I've never seen that happen before. So, let's take a look at what this is asking for us. So we're going to take our speed, this will be our speed value here, theta. We're going to take the momentum we calculated here, and we're going to divide that by 1.2. 1.049 divided by 1.2 going to give us a value of 8741. Wait, we're going on too far. Make sure you round each of the following calculations to the 3 decimal places. So, our speed in this first case is going to be a 0.874. 1 doesn't round up. So, now we're going to take 0.99 divided by 1.2. And in this case, that gives us a perfect 0.825. Finally, 1.097 divided by 1.2. That gives us a value of 0.914. Now, what's the significance of 1.2? 1.2 is essentially the neutrino's masses. So that's what we're working with here. Just a little inside information. So now that we calculated our speeds, we're going to go to the Lorentz factor. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our speeds here. And what this is going to be is it's going to be 1 over the square root of 1 minus the speed times the speed. Thank God for Google, because I have a little tab here that has the equation all prepped up. All we have to do is just change the speeds. So in this case, our speed for the first one is going to be a 0.874. We have to plug that in for both of them. And that gives us a value of 2.058. Let's not forget to round here. 2.058 for our first one. Next up, a 0.825. Going to give us a value of 1.769. 1.769. And finally, plug in 0.914. It's going to give us a value of 2.465, because 7 rounds up. 2.465. Okay. So now that we calculated our Lorentz factor, we're going to calculate the contracted distance. In this case, the uppercase L, which we're going to have to use our planet here and the distance from the sun, which we gathered actually at the beginning. So we're going to use the values from the Lorentz factor we got, and we're going to divide 19,201 by each Lorentz factor. So now we're going to do 19,201 divided by our first factor is going to be a 2.058, and that'll give us a 9,329.932. Next up, 19,201 divided by 1.769. That gives us a 10,854.155. 10,854.155. And finally, 19,201 divided by 2.465. That gives us a final value of 7,789.452. Always pay attention to rounding up, because, not gonna lie, I kind of messed up recording one of these, and it really does make a big difference on your final time, or your travel time as it refers to. Finally, let's find our travel time, the thing we've been trying to calculate for the longest time. So we're going to take our contracted distance, and look, speed actually comes in from the earlier step. So we're going to take our contracted distance and divide it by the speed. However, in this case, before we even do that, we have to always round down to the nearest integer. It used to be to the 3 decimal places. Now we're just looking at the integer. And we'll always round down. So, 9,329.932 divided by 0.874. It's going to give us a value of 10,674. Next up, 10,854.155 divided by its speed is a 0.825. It's going to give us a 13,156. Finally, 7,789.452 divided by 0.914. And that's going to give us a speed of 8,552.22, excuse me. So, that's our official travel time. But now, we need to look at our final time for a second, because that's going to give us the ability to find our new neutrino flavor. So what we're going to do is take the travel time modulo 10 plus 1. So we're essentially going to take the least significant digit and add 1 to it. So 4 plus 1 is a 5, 6 plus 1 is a 7, and 2 plus 1 is a 3. And those are our final times. So now, what we're going to do is we've figured out our travel time for each of the neutrinos. So now what we're going to do is figure out our final flavor for each of the neutrinos. Now let's get some terminology cleared up. There will be 3 different types of flavors that exist. We have the echo, or epsilon, we have the mu, and we have the tau. Those are our 3 flavors, so it will always be one of those. Now looking at this, we have a neutrino without a line here, but this one does. What these refer to, these are antineutrinos. This is a regular neutrino, these are antineutrinos. And that's essentially the opposite of one another. You'll see how the antineutrinos apply into here. So what we're going to do is, it says here in the table below, begin in the cell which is centered from the starting flavor of the neutrino. So I'm going to do this one by one instead of like I did here with math, because each of these have different types of neutrinos. So we're going to start, in this case, with mu, and we're going to start in the center cell. So beginning with this cell, if this condition is true, subtract 1 from your final time in the table. If the final time is not 0, continue moving down along the rows of the repeated table, repeating the step and wrapping around if necessary. However, this rule applies. If the neutrino you are using for this step is an antineutrino, then go up the table instead of down. Once you have reached the cell, which reduced the final time to 0, the corresponding flavor in that cell will be the new neutrino flavor. Antineutrinos will still be antineutrinos even though the flavor may have changed. So, the way how you'll know you got your answer wrong is if you submit an antineutrino in a regular neutrino form. So that's important to pay attention to. Let's take a look at our first one. What are we working with here? We are working with a regular neutrino. So we're going to go down the table instead of up. So starting with this condition, if the serial number contains a mic, let's check. The serial number does contain a mic. So this condition is true. So we are going to subtract 1 from our final time and keep going until we reach 0. So in this case, we're at a 4 right now. So we're going to go down because it's a regular neutrino. If this is not the first lap, it is the first lap because we haven't reached this cell twice. So we're going to go up. This is the first lap. It is indeed in this case, so that we're going to subtract 1, giving us 3. If this is an antineutrino, no, this is a regular neutrino, so we're going to keep moving. If the serial number contains some echo, no, it does not. If If the serial number contains a tango, no, it does not. If the planet is closer than Jupiter, and what it means by closer is if it's closer to the Sun than Jupiter. Uranus has a farther distance from Jupiter, so that is not true. If there are more than 2 ports, we've already discerned that, so yes, that condition applies, and we are going to subtract 1 from that, meaning a 2. Continuing down the list, there are more than 2 batteries. No, there's exactly 1, so no. If the serial number contains a mic, we've already been to this rule, but it still applies because we're going to keep looping around through this list. So we can subtract 1 from here, and that gives us a 1. Now we've made it past our first lap, and this condition no longer applies. If this is not the first lap, it is not in this case, so we can subtract 0, and that's going to be our final cell we're going to take a look at. No moving anywhere else. What does this cell correspond to? This corresponds to the mu flavor, in this case. So I'm going to write it down here. This final neutrino will be a mu. So next up, let's do it for the next 2 neutrinos because they actually happen to be the same neutrino. However, we're going to pay attention to their final times because both of them have different final times. So we're going to start at the center cell of epsilon, and instead, we are an antineutrino, we're going to go up the table. So, our first rule, simply, if this is an antineutrino, we can subtract 1 from both of them because they are both antineutrinos. 6. If this is the first lap, it is indeed the first lap, so we can subtract 1 from u and subtract 1 from u. Next up, if this is not the first lap, we are still on the first lap, so we can keep going. If the serial number contains a mic, we've already discerned that. Yes, it does. We're going to subtract that from 0, and that's actually going to be our new flavor for that neutrino right there. That's going to be a mu. So now what we have to do is worry about this center one, and we're going to continue on. We're going to subtract 1 from that as well, just to confirm. It started at 7, would have been 6, would have been 5, would have been 4. Okay. There are more than 2 batteries? Nope. There are more than 2 ports? Absolutely there are. Subtract 1, as it is up here. The planet is not closer than Jupiter. Serial number does not contain a tango, nor does it contain an echo. It is an antineutrino, so subtract 1. This is not the first lap, however. So we're going to not worry about that rule anymore. This is no longer the first lap. So that actually applies. We're going to subtract 1. And the serial number contains a mic. It does. And that's going to be a 0. That's going to be a mu as well, because it corresponds to that flavor. So now, we have our answers. All 3 of them have to be mu's. And now what we're going to take a look at is these very important rules that we have to pay attention to. So when submitting the module, you must interact with each neutrino button in the order they arrive. Start with the one with the smallest travel time, not final time. Travel time, in this case. So we would interact with this one first because it has the smallest travel time, this one second, and this one third. If you press a button corresponding to a neutrino which arrives later, you will get a strike. Once all neutrinos are properly set, press the planet screen to submit. However, we're looking at a very interesting rule right now. If 2 of the final neutrinos are antineutrino pairs, X here, echo and echo bar, then they will annihilate. You should leave the flavors of these neutrinos blank. If all 3 should annihilate, only the first 2 in the order of arrival will annihilate, and the 3rd neutrino will be unaffected. Let's take a look. Both of these are supposed to be antineutrinos, and this one is a regular neutrino. All 3 of them have the same result. So obviously we're going to be getting rid of the regular neutrino, but now we have 2 antineutrinos with mu. It says here, if all 3 should annihilate, only the first 2 in the order of their arrival will annihilate. And the 3rd neutrino will be unaffected. So in this case, the 3rd position arrives before the second position. So in this case, these two will be eliminated. We do not touch them at all, and simply what we're going to do is submit the second value as an antineutrino mu. This is all set up, and we press the planet button, and that's our submit button. And just like that is a solved module. Now, I do understand that this is a bit of a tricky module at first to learn, as it is highly math-based. And it is a little bit of a confusing concept to learn, but once you get into the swing of things, it does get a lot easier, and sometimes it is a little bit easy to cheese, I will say that. And by cheese, I mean, like, skip a couple steps. Let's take a look at one more, as this is a little bit of a lengthy module to explain. So first off, this is going to be a nice example too. Next up, we have our planet Venus. Venus has a distance of 723. 723. So now what we're going to do is, we're going to get our three starting momentums here. So first off, the number of battery holders modulo 10 is 2 in this case. So for our first one is a 2. Bravo is the number of ports modulo 10, 2 in this case. Next up, Charlie is the position of the button from left to right. In this case is a 1, as we are working with that. Next up, number of port plates modulo 10, in this case 2. Number of batteries modulo 10 is a 2 as well. And the position of the button from left to right is also a 2. And our final starting one is going to be the number of unlit indicators. In this case, 0. The number of lit indicators is our Bravo value, is a 1. And our position from left to right is a 3. Now what we're going to do is apply any global modulos, none in this case, because none of them go above 300 essentially. And now we're going to divide each of them by 1,000. So in this case, adding a bullet point to the front of them. And that's that. Now we're going to subtract each of them by 1.2. And that'll get our momentum. So 1.2 minus 0.221 is giving us a 0.979. We can essentially just subtract one more, 1.2 minus 0.222. In this case is a 0.978. And finally, 1.2 minus 0.013 is going to be a 1.187. Not 97, 1.187. Alright, and that's our momentum. So now we're going to divide each of them by 0.12 to get our speed. So a 0.979 divided by 1.2 is an 816 because we're rounding up now. It's a 0.816. 0.978 divided by 1.2 is an 815. 0.815, and finally 1.187 divided by 1.2 is a 0.989. Next up, the Lorentz factor. Sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing stuff. So we're going to plug in each of the speeds to this little formula up here. 816 and an 816, giving us a 1.730, or 1.73 in this case, because we rounded up, and that's that. Just to confirm, 1.73. Yep, that works. Next up, 0.185 in this case. We can just swap these two numbers. going to give us a 1.726. 1.726. And a 0.989. Is a 6.761. 6.761. And that's our Lorentz factor. So now we're going to take the result from the Lorentz factor and divide that from 723. So 723 divided by 1.73 is a 417.919. No rounding necessary. Next up, 723 divided by 1.726 is a result of 418.888 because we round up because of the 6. And finally, 723 divided by 6.761 is a 106.937. And those are our contracted distances. And finally, to get our travel time, we are going to take our contracted distances and divide it by the speed. And pop it back on the module just to make sure. So a 417.919 divided by 0.816. That gives us a 512. And remember, for our travel time, only round down to the nearest integer. Do not worry about the decimal points. Next up, 418.888 divided by 0.815 is going to give us 513. Wow, those are really close together. 513 and 106.937 divided by 0.989 is going to give us a 108. Wow, you were fast. 108 point. Actually, no, the points don't matter. So these are our final travel times. Now let's calculate our final times by modulating 10 and adding 1 to the least significant digit of the serial number. So in this case, that'll be a 3. 2 plus 1 is a 3. 3 plus 1 is a 4. And 8 plus 1 is a 9. Now let's go down to each flavor. And first off, let's calculate these two because they're both mu. In this case, we can calculate the first and the third together. Starting from the middle cell, and we're going up because this is an antineutrino. The serial number contains a mic. No, it does not. If there are more than 2 batteries. No, there are exactly 2. There are more than 2 ports. No, there are also exactly 2. If the planet is closer than Jupiter, Venus is obviously closer than Jupiter. If that is true, we can subtract 1 from the first and the third. 2, and that becomes an 8. We're going to be at this one for a while. Next up, serial number contains a tango. I'll leave that marked. No, it does not. Serial number contains an echo. No, it does not. This is an antineutrino. For these two, yes, they are antineutrinos. So we're going to subtract 1 from both of them, giving a 1 and a 7. This is the first lap. Yes, it is. So that is going to be a 0. And since that cell corresponds to the epsilon value, that's going to be what we're going to submit. And we're also going to subtract 1 from here as well, now only worrying about this one. If this is not the first lap, no, we are still in the first lap until we reach here again. So now, going around, we're on our second lap. This will come up first. So we're going to subtract 1 from there, 5. This will come up next, that'll be a 4. This is no longer the first lap, so we can subtract 1 from here as well. And we're essentially just going to keep going around and around and subtracting 1. So planet is Jupiter, yep, 2, antineutrino, 1, and not the first lap, giving it a 0. We are ending on a mu. here. Okay. So now we have our first two values, and now we're going to take a look at the second one, excuse me. So this is a starting neutrino of a tau. Going to go to the center. Obviously, the planet is indeed closer than Jupiter, as we've discerned. So we're going to subtract 1 from you. Serial number does not contain a tango, an echo. It is no longer an antineutrino. Actually, we're going the wrong way, as this is not an antineutrino, so we're going down the table instead. So, there are more than 2 ports. Nope. More than 2 batteries. There are exactly 2. Serial number contains a mic. No. This is not the first lap. It is. If this is the first lap, indeed it is. So we can subtract 1 from that. And then we're going around, I guess, at this point. So that's done. And that's going to be our second lap. Planet is closer than Jupiter. True. Subtract 1 from 2. And then going down here, subtracting 1, and that's going to end on a move as well. But look, let's actually take a look here. We have 2 final neutrinos that are neutrino-antineutrino pairs. Both end on mu. One's an antineutrino and one's a neutrino. So these 2 are essentially going to cancel out. And that's good. If they weren't, however, to cancel out, we would interact with each neutrino button according to its travel time, not its final time. So in this case, we would interact with this one first, this one second, and this one third, as it says, start with the one with the smallest travel time. Just like that. So we're going to set this one to an antineutrino epsilon, or echo, and submit the module. And just like that is a solved module. If you guys have any questions about this module, please don't be afraid to ask in the comments. This is a primarily math module, but I know it can be a little bit confusing. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Stay crazy, stay cool, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.